40% of online adults have experienced online harassment. 73% have witnessed it. And the unfortunate reality is that it is much worse and much more likely if you're a woman, LGBTQ, person of color, Muslim. I think you get the point. The problem is that in the news, we're seeing these big stories. We're seeing the 18-year-old Tyler Clementes who took his life after his roommate secretly filmed him kissing another guy and outed him on Twitter. We see women like Anita Sarkeesian being close to shamed off the internet and sent death and rape threats for sharing their feminism. We see these stories once it's too late. But what about the everyday online harassment? What about that ugly Snapchat you sent your friend with the intention of it being private, and now it's up on Facebook? And so it's just one photo.
My son was a victim of a crime, a physical crime, which landed him in the ICU at Children's Hospital for 6 days. He was punched in the head, dropped to the ground, had a concussion, fractured skull, hearing loss, and an epidural hematoma. So his brain had bled for 6 hours. And the whole time that he was on the ground, bleeding and eyes rolled back, people jumped in and filmed him on the ground.
I'm Jordan Peisner, a 16-year-old social media safety advocate. I was a cyberbullying victim, and a video of me getting beat up was posted online.
What I learned after researching what's been going on is it's happening all over the world. It's an epidemic. Kids, unfortunately, are taking these horrific moments and they're filming them and they're sharing them so that they could get popular.
We're counting how many people not only are walking by, but how many of them are looking at their phones, how many of them are using their phone. That could be like listening to earbuds or something. They're interacting, they're having, their phone is part of what they're doing. And there's a lot of people sort of getting to work, they're zoning out. And then there are other people who are looking at their phones, like I have to get this done before I walk into the office, I guess is what they're doing. And then there are people who are just like gripping their phones. They're not looking at them, but they're at the ready. If they needed to look at their phone, they could.
Well, it's so useful. If you don't know anything about it, you're lost. You have to keep up with the world somehow or other. And before I got my iPhone, I felt like I was a dummy.
I'm learning that to maneuver in the world now, you have to know how to work on the computer and pick up information and transfer it.
Max started offering his tech tutorials more than a year ago.
These young tech experts give up a weekend day every month to come to retirement homes like this. And their work is on demand. The sign-up sheet for the one-on-one tech tutorials fill up pretty fast.
Patience is key.
See, it doesn't go all the time. Why? What does that mean?
You'll get a notification.
How?
It'll come up.
Where? But I mean, do people write things to each other?
Yeah.
Is there a principal reason why I should delete my social media? And if so, what is it?
There are two. One of them is for your own good, and the other is for society's good. For your own good, it's because you're being subtly manipulated by algorithms that are watching everything you do constantly, and then sending you changes in your media feed, in your diet, that are calculated to adjust you slightly to the liking of some unseen advertiser. And so if you get off that, you can have a chance to experience a clearer view of yourself and your life. But then the reason for society might be even more important. Society has been gradually darkened by this scheme in which everyone is under surveillance all the time, and everyone is under this mild version of behavior modification all the time.
I check my phone
A lot.
More than I can count.
I check it usually when I wake up in the morning.
Before school, on the bus ride to school.
During school.
A couple times each class.
At lunch.
Probably check it at break.
After school.
Walking home.
While I'm doing homework.
I'm constantly checking my phone until I go to bed.
I have definitely been emotionally affected by social media, maybe even depressed, but it's hard to say which causes what sometimes.
Sometimes when I'm sad, I like to communicate with my friends on social media, and that really makes me feel less lonely.
The first true social media site, 6 Degrees, was created in 1997. It allowed users to create a profile and invite friends. In 1999, blogging first started to gain popularity with platforms like OpenDiary and LiveJournal. In the early days of blogging, blogs were more like an online diary where people would write about their personal lives to share with friends, family, or various unknown readers. After the emergence of blogging, social media exploded onto the scene. Sites like MySpace, LinkedIn, and Flickr gained popularity in the early 2000s. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg registered the domain thefacebook.com, which went on to become the most widely used social network, now just called Facebook, beginning in 2006 when it was opened up to the public. Today, there are a huge variety of social media sites for various purposes. However, the main purpose of social media continues to be connection.
We don't really hug and touch each other anymore. It's all done through that phone. And more, we're becoming so technical that when you go to restaurants and you see people having dinner, you look at them, they both got their cell phones out. And they're talking on their cell phones instead of talking, but we don't really hug and touch each other anymore. It's all done through that phone. And more, we're becoming so technical that when you go to restaurants and you see people having dinner, you look at them, they both got their cell phones out. And they're talking on their cell phones instead of talking with each other.
Do you have any social media?
No. I usually just stay home and watch YouTube the whole day.
I don't. My mom does that kind of stuff.
I have a Facebook and a Gmail account.
For my generation, I think I'm reasonably involved. I mean, I got like 1,000 friends on Facebook.